Transmigrated into the role of the female lead's mother in a dark romance novel, I immediately enrolled my daughter in combat sports, boxing, martial arts, and mixed martial arts. 10 years later, the male lead smirked with a wicked grin, playing hard to get. The heroine twisted his arm and pinned him down with a smirk, asking coldly, like this? 1. Mom, Jackson was mean to me today. The sweet, soft, and fair-skinned little heroine nestled in my arms, her fluffy white cheeks like cotton candy, tempting me to take a bite. I couldn't resist reaching out to pinch her baby fat. What did he do? Chloe shyly buried her face and mumbled softly. He kissed my cheek and called me wifey. After saying this, she blinked her big eyes at me, full of innocent confusion. The teacher said it's because he likes me, just like how mommy sometimes kisses my cheeks. But it feels weird, and I don't want him to do that. Realizing the severity of the situation, I became serious and took her small hand in mine. Come on, let's go talk with your teacher together. 10 days ago, I had accidentally transmigrated into this dark romance novel, and then got trapped here when that novel website went bankrupt. Perhaps something went wrong during the transmigration. Instead of becoming a background character, I ended up as the protagonist's mother when she was still in elementary school. While reading the novel, my conscience completely deserted me, but after spending 10 whole days with the young female protagonist, I could no longer see her as just a paper-thin character. The mere thought of having 7 male leads who would force my precious daughter into such acts in the future made me want to turn into a chainsaw and confiscate their tools of the crime on the spot. Upon arriving at the school, I found Chloe's teacher and demanded to review the surveillance footage. The footage clearly showed that little punk Jackson following Chloe around all day, staring at her with those creepy, unblinking eyes, like they were about to fall right out of his skull. The two were seated at the same desk, and Jackson constantly harassed Chloe whether in class or during breaks, either by pulling her hair or snatching her textbooks. After class, he'd deliberately use his height advantage to place Chloe's hairband on the doorframe, making her beg him to retrieve it. During PE while playing games, he seized the chance to wrap his arms around Chloe and planted a loud kiss on her cheek. Chloe, I like you. When I grow up, I'm gonna marry you and make you my wife. Chloe gave him a few shoves but couldn't budge him, instantly pouting as teardrops began pattering down her cheeks. Jackson triumphantly wrapped an arm around Chloe's shoulders and announced to the whole class, Chloe is mine. Seeing this, the teacher knowingly smiled. Oh dear, Chloe's mom, you have no idea how much Jackson adores your Chloe. He's practically her little guardian. When other boys try to play with Chloe, he gets all cranky about it. My face darkened. Children may not understand boundaries, but shouldn't adults know better? Our Chloe has clearly expressed discomfort. Instead of correcting Jackson's behavior, you're actually proud of it? Who are Jackson's parents? I need to speak with them immediately. Teacher Davis froze, then smiled awkwardly. Ms. Chloe's mother. It's just children playing around. No need to take it so seriously. Kids live in an innocent world. He genuinely meant no harm to Chloe. Precisely because children are innocent, I can't let this misunderstanding linger in Chloe's mind. I shot her a glance. Teacher Davis, make the call. It's hard to say whether the female lead's later voluntary entanglement with 7 male leads wasn't influenced by this kind of subtly ingrained toxic mentality. You actually wanted it deep down. You didn't resist, did you? I just like you too much. My palm was tugged. I looked down to see Chloe gazing up at me timidly. Mommy, did I cause you trouble? My heart melted. I crouched down to her eye level. No, sweetheart. You were never a trouble. Jackson's father arrived shortly after. He was a broad-shouldered, long-legged man with a strikingly fit physique, handsome enough to grace the cover of a fashion magazine on the spot. Stepping out of a luxury car, he actually handed me a shopping bag first upon meeting, containing a designer purse worth at least several $1,000s. The man smiled politely. Sorry, Jackson comes from a single-parent family. His mother passed away very early. I'm quite busy with work and can't always take perfect care of him. This incident was just a misunderstanding. I hope you won't take it to heart. Misunderstanding? I frowned. Jackson and Chloe are already aware of gender differences, so I don't think misunderstanding is an appropriate term for Jackson's behavior. Not to mention, Jackson won't allow Chloe to play with other children, which has severely disrupted her school life. Jackson is a boy, so he's naturally braver when it comes to feelings. Besides, little girls are shy. Chloe might not be unwilling at all. The man turned to Jackson, who looked like his carbon copy, and said, Go on, ask Chloe properly. Little Jackson indeed went up to Chloe, pouting pitifully as he said, Don't you really like me, Chloe? If you don't, why did you accept the candies and hairpins I gave you? Chloe timidly glanced at me and whispered, I gave you presents too. We're friends. We exchanged gifts, and you still say you don't like me? Jackson pressed further. Chloe faltered, her fingers clutching her clothes tightly. I do, but... Before she could finish, Jackson cheered joyfully. You like me. I like you. That makes you my girlfriend. What's wrong with kissing my own girlfriend? Nearby, Teacher Davis watched them with affectionate amusement, grinning from ear to ear. That Jackson boy's got a quick wit. I was absolutely furious. Adhering to the principle that parents are primarily responsible for their children, I directly confronted Jackson's father. Do you still think there's nothing wrong with Jackson's mindset? He looked at me thoughtfully, with an ambiguous smile, speaking in disjointed sentences. As far as I know, you're also a single mother? You'd even use children just to meet me. Take this bag, it contains what you want. Me? Upon opening the bag, I found it was actually a set of sheer lace lingerie. I was so furious that I hurled my bag straight at his head. Are you fucking insane? The man's eyes lit up. Oh, so you want to play the stepmother game? Too bad both my parents are alive and well. No need for you to go through all that trouble. Oh heavens, I'm left speechless. Doesn't this world have any normal men left? After returning home, I racked my brains and agonized over it before finally coming up with a brilliant idea. I sent Chloe to the mixed martial arts hobby class overnight. Day 1 of the dark romance novel heroine learning mixed martial arts. The coach fretted, why should a delicate girl learn combat? Chloe's so pretty, wouldn't dancing or playing piano suit her better? Day 7 of the dark romance novel heroine learning mixed martial arts. The coach was on the verge of tears. She's the most talentless kid I've ever seen. She falls over at the slightest touch, and her skin bruises if you so much as graze it. Plus, her entire body is too soft. I doubt she'll ever build muscles in her lifetime. 1 month into the dark romance novel heroine learning mixed martial arts, the coach's eyes shone with excitement. Yes, a natural-born talent. No matter how intense the training, she bounces back by the next day. Extraordinary flexibility and tolerance for pain. This girl was made for combat. The day Chloe returned to school happened to be Parents' Open Day, and I made a special trip to visit. As soon as Jackson spotted her, he came bounding over like a dog catching scent of meat. Chloe, I missed you so much. Where have you been? While trying to cling to her like sticky candy, Chloe straightened her soft pale face sternly. Jackson, I hate this. Unless you ask permission, I'll punch you if you touch me again. Her childish outburst drew good-natured laughter from the assembled parents. That little girl has quite the temper. Boys should be more generous and give in to her. Jackson also laughed. Chloe, you're a girl. You're not as strong as me. You can't beat me. Oh really? The trained Chloe wasn't as easily fooled as before. Pressing her lips together, she suddenly grabbed Jackson's outstretched hand. With one pull and a trip, Jackson went ouch, ouch, as she flipped him over her shoulder, landing him flat on his back. The parents were stunned. Jackson scrambled up from the ground, his face flushed. Chloe Miller, how could you be so rude? You violent girl, I don't like you anymore. As he spoke, he made sure to announce loudly to the whole class, Chloe hits people. From now on, none of us should play with her. Jackson's father also said with a stern face, what's with all this savagery from a little girl? Truly ill-mannered. Amid the parents' accusatory comments, Chloe's originally sparkling eyes dimmed. Her head bowed low under the weight of their condescending gazes. She stood there awkwardly. It's much better for girls to be quiet and gentle. Chloe, if you keep this up, no boy will ever dare to chase you. Jackson was just joking with you. Why take it so seriously? Hidden among the parents, I was about to step forward when Chloe suddenly yelled, you're being unfair. I halted my steps. I saw the usually soft and docile female protagonist, whose temper was as mild as white cotton, her face now flushed red, her eyes wide like an angry calf, glaring fiercely at the parents. Are you all Jackson's parents? If not, why are you speaking for him? Jackson was clearly at fault too, so why only blame me? The parents uncomfortably averted their gaze without answering her, whispering among themselves with suppressed laughter, what a sharp tongue she has. Chloe grew even angrier. Why won't you look at me, answer me, or listen to me? Jackson called me a violent girl. Why aren't you scolding him? Jackson's father replied arrogantly. Did our Jackson say anything wrong? Chloe, you're just a little girl hitting a boy. Isn't that violence? It's only because Jackson has the courtesy of a gentleman that he doesn't stoop to your level. Do you really think you could beat him? You're Jackson's father. Of course you'd take his side. The man frowned and angrily rebuked. How dare you talk back when adults are speaking? Chloe fearlessly glared up at him. Though her eyes quickly welled up with tears, she didn't retreat a single step. I smiled with relief. Seeing my precious daughter fighting so hard, this mother certainly couldn't let her down. A bunch of adults bullying a little girl, I said coldly as I stepped out from the crowd, glaring at Jackson's father. How remarkably chivalrous of you. Chloe immediately flung herself into my arms like a fledgling returning to its nest, tears pattering down her cheeks. Mommy. Jackson's dad responded with a hollow smile. Perfect timing, Chloe's mother. I'd like to ask how you've been raising your daughter. She actually resorted to violence. Chloe had already warned Jackson, I replied. This wasn't violence, just a warning. Since Jackson apparently couldn't understand Chloe's words, this was the only way to make him remember. He scowled. Jackson was just joking. Aren't you being too harsh? I walked straight up and pinched his butt, Tiny can be cute too. Him? His face gradually turned ashen under my suggestive smile. Deadpan, I said, just a joke. Surely a grown man like Papa Jackson wouldn't hold a grudge against little Omi? Oh my, I've never met such an ungentlemanly man in my life. The teacher hurriedly intervened. Mrs. Chloe, Mr. Jackson just speaks his mind bluntly without any ill intentions. I think his brain short-circuited. All he knows is eating and shitting, I said, holding Chloe's hand. Teacher Davis, we're transferring schools. But this damned plot wouldn't allow it. I approached the grade director, the principal. Whether it was transferring schools or changing classes, nothing worked. Reluctantly, Chloe had to return to her original classroom. The moment we entered, Jackson started jeering with his gang. Here comes the violent girl. Everybody run for your lives. Then he pretended to panic and flee in a comical manner, throwing the entire classroom into chaos. The teacher angrily threw down the chalk. Chloe Miller, what are you standing there for? Hurry up and come in. Do you want to delay the whole class from starting? Chloe was stunned. Miss, it wasn't me. If she's obviously targeting you, why bother proving yourself? I calmly led Chloe back to her seat, glancing helplessly at the teacher. Sorry about this, I didn't expect Jackson to be so emotionally fragile. Who knew getting rejected would make him snap? You'll have to cut him some slack, Teach. Sure, he's a guy, but his heart's more delicate than most girls. Then, sighing seriously, I turned to Jackson. Students should focus on their studies first. You can't beat Chloe in a fight, and now your grades are worse than hers too. Do you really want the whole class knowing you're completely useless? Am I wrong, fragile boy? Jackson looked like he'd been struck by lightning before slowly slumping back into his seat. Game over for male lead number 1. Chloe gazed at me with stars in her eyes. I sighed silently in my heart. Aside from martial arts, boxing, and MMA, maybe I should enroll her in debate and critical thinking classes too. Under my wise and mighty leadership, Chloe successfully graduated from elementary school. But with this came an even greater challenge. With Chloe's first menstruation, her body began emitting a peculiar fragrance. This, my friends, was the legendary male protagonist magnet from novels. Any man who caught this scent would descend into beast-like obsession, completely unable to resist. 5. That day, Chloe left school early in a panic. When I got home, I found her sitting in the bathroom, weeping silently. I don't know why Ethan suddenly acted like that. He never paid any attention to me before, but at the bathroom door, he suddenly rushed at me. I ran, and he chased me. Not just him, more and more boys started chasing me. Chloe sobbed, Mom, I'm so scared. They said it's because I smell too good, so good it drove them crazy. The teacher even scolded me, asking why I had to carry my sanitary pad openly when going to the bathroom. Wasn't I telling all the boys I was on my period? He called me shameless. Ethan is the second male lead, the cold and aloof school bully. With a frosty exterior but a passionate heart, he harbors a dream of becoming a scientist, striving to explore the limits of humanity and the mysteries of the universe. For this reason, I spent entire days immersed in deep exchanges with the female lead. Yet I could never explain the reasons to her. After all, dark romance novels defy logic, and the female protagonist exists merely as an embodiment of irresistible allure. The male lead surrenders to temptation, while the reader scrutinizes it. From beginning to end, she alone remains the spectacle under observation. In all these years of raising Chloe, I've grown increasingly unsettled by this phenomenon. Why do you think this is something shameful? I retorted, if men bled, would they feel ashamed to show their bandages in public? Chloe mumbled, that's two different things, Mom. Everyone gets hurt, but only women bleed from there. Then, it's not the blood that's shameful, but the place where it flows. Is that it? She hesitated and nodded. So what's the difference between toilet paper and sanitary pads? I calmly explained, they're just tools to meet physiological needs. Don't guys use paper when they go to the bathroom too? Chloe, huh? Though the heroine was intelligent, she became surprisingly dense when it came to matters involving the opposite sex. I recalled my middle school days when, without being taught, I'd automatically hide sanitary pads in my sleeves before taking them to the bathroom as if engaged in some shameful deed. Even requesting PE class leave always involved euphemistically telling the teacher I'm not feeling well. Almost overnight, sanitary pads transformed into unspeakable secrets. We all learned to carefully read the room, covering for each other, ensuring boys wouldn't discover this forbidden knowledge. And it seemed like the boys suddenly grasped our weakness too. Whenever an argument broke out, all they had to do was toss out a line like, "You're so moody. Is it that time of the month?" And the girls would immediately retreat, utterly defeated. Even today, sanitary pads remain a topic that requires discussion, still tucked away in black plastic bags. Yet even in fiction, I hoped at least Chloe wouldn't be troubled by this. Do you know why the teacher scolded you for having no shame? I gazed into her eyes. Because the one who should truly feel ashamed is him. Because no matter what, he can never become a woman, can never possess a womb, can never gauge his health through menstrual blood, much less give life, After your first period, you inherently possess a privilege men don't have. They can't take it away, so they label it shameful, trying to erase its existence, all to maintain their socially constructed equality. Don't let their voices sway you, Chloe. Your first period is your honor. It's proof of your health. Your future holds so many more possibilities and experiences. Some might be awkward or uncomfortable, others joyful or exhilarating, but they'll all be uniquely yours. You don't need to rely on men's words to make sense of it. After all, men don't menstruate. Chloe's eyelids trembled, her expression caught between shock and realization. But I'm not normal. No one else gives off a scent like I do. They say I'm. She hesitated, then uttered a carefully chosen word, seductive. 6. I let out a sharp laugh. Seductive? You really think they're chasing you because of some scent you're giving off? After all, this is supposedly a sweet romance novel with multiple male leads and dark undertones, where only the male protagonists can smell the female lead's scent. Because if every Tom, Dick, or Harry could detect it, then the male leads wouldn't be special enough. So I understood the absurdity behind this accusation better than Chloe did. I pulled her to the window and pointed at a few stray dogs wandering on the road. Do you remember how terrified you were of dogs as a child? A single bark would send you running. The sudden change of topic made Chloe's tense shoulders relax slightly. With a smile, she recalled, but that only made them bark louder. Ignoring everyone else on the street, they singled me out to chase. As if struck by a sudden thought, she turned to stare at me in surprise. I placed my hands on her shoulders. Medieval sailors used goats to vent their desires during voyages, but when their misdeeds were exposed, they claimed it was a goat possessed by a succubus that seduced them. Thus, the goat became the prototype of demons. Humanity has layered itself with moral shackles, yet we are not inherently noble as the paragons of creation. That's why we wield language. Language is a shield, a weapon, and a blade that kills without bloodshed. You've participated in debates. You understand better than anyone how incendiary words can be. So why do their accusations still shake you? Her lips trembled as she slowly uttered a few words. Because their words made me feel ashamed. I was afraid of being seen as that kind of woman, so I ran away. She suddenly looked up. But why do they get to define me? Why is fragrance considered wanton? Why are sanitary pads seen as unclean? Because you ran away, I said. You handed them the knife handle. Chloe pressed her hands to her forehead and collapsed against me. I held her as her body trembled slightly. Her fair skin tinged with pink made her look like a ripe honey peach, ready to be plucked. Mom, she sobbed heavily, her tears soaking through my clothes. Mom, they all say the same thing. They all claim they smelled my fragrance. Every single one of them said they couldn't help themselves. Couldn't resist, she screamed in fury. They're lying. I gently patted her head. So don't back down, Chloe. Once you show weakness and fear, you'll become a lamb, inviting the wolves to slaughter. This is so strange. Some people really disliked Ethan, even got bullied by him. But when they were in the office, they all lied for him. Chloe murmured to herself, and a few boys who confessed their feelings to me. They liked me. But when the teacher asked, they still said, it wasn't Ethan's fault. The girls didn't believe me either, and some even avoided me. Maybe they were scared of being labeled as troublemakers too. Some people's affection is filthy. If they can't touch you, they'll try to drag you down. If Chloe were just an ordinary middle schooler, I wouldn't have phrased it so harshly. But she happens to be the heroine of a dark romance novel. Sugarcoating the truth would only enable his tyranny. You'll realize once you enter society that such instances are countless. Men naturally defend their own alliances. Yet women are always artificially divided for various reasons. Chloe, why? My personal understanding is the difference in competitive spaces. Men are born into competition within the broader societal environment. Whether expanding outward or delving inward, resources are relatively infinite for them. They only need to successfully embody the identity of a socialized man, after which they naturally become sons, husbands, and fathers. The world is a treasure trove they can freely plunder, and their competitors are kindred spirits in solidarity. As long as they keep expanding the dominion of men, their own share of resources grows larger too. That's why they fight each other internally but stand united against external threats. As for women, they are born into compartments drawn by men. They study, marry, and bear children, merely hopping from one small box to a slightly larger one. Competing in such cramped spaces is no different from cricket fights. Even if you win, you're just a slightly more impressive cricket in the end. Chloe interrupted me. But now there's gender equality. Women can do any job men can. We're competing on equal footing. There has never been absolute fairness between genders, only relative fairness. Women are often daughters, wives, and mothers first before they can be themselves, and these identities cannot coexist simultaneously. I told her, I didn't dare to look for a job until you started elementary school, and when I applied, I had to prove to the interviewer that I was divorced and had no plans to remarry or have a second child within 3 years. Yet they still worried that, without a father figure at home, I would focus more on you and neglect my work. Do you see? At school parent-teacher meetings, it's still mostly mothers who show up, even if there's a father at home. Chloe once again wore that conflicted, struggling expression, so I quickly changed the subject. But the world isn't that bad, and besides, you're just a middle schooler. It's not your job to save it. Though I said this, my heart felt heavy. This world isn't all bad, but for the female lead in dark romance novels, it's absolutely wretched. 7. I went to the school, but they made Chloe confront Ethan. Ethan may not have the best grades, but he's no bad kid who harasses girls. The dean swore earnestly, even hinting that perhaps they were in a relationship. I half smiled. Teacher, can you also smell the fragrance Ethan mentioned on Chloe? He sniffed the air and declared confidently, of course. Is it the scent of shampoo or laundry detergent? Lie. It's actually just because Ethan's mother donated a building to the school. I scoffed. But did you lose your senses and harass students because of it? So, is Ethan actually lying and leading the bullying against Chloe? Or, perhaps he has some mental health issues? Keeping someone who can't control themselves in school makes me very concerned for the students' safety. The second male lead clenched his fists and glared fiercely. It was Chloe who seduced me. The hallway surveillance already captured you chasing after Chloe. I shot him a glance. Since you refused to repent, let's settle this with the police. The results naturally fell short of expectations. With all the world's green lights turning his way, the male lead naturally faced no real consequences. But with the police report on file, when Ethan's second assault attempt on Chloe ended with him beaten so badly he was hospitalized with fractures, Chloe successfully argued self-defense using that very document. After this incident, Ethan started actively avoiding Chloe altogether. Seems the so-called female lead's alluring pheromones didn't affect him quite as profoundly after all. One day after coming home, Chloe excitedly hugged me. Mom, guess what? My deskmate got her period today and stained her chair. A boy laughed at her, so I threw a sanitary pad right at his face, and he actually cried. Her cheeks flushed red as she cheerfully murmured to herself, so boys cry too, so they can also be scared when girls fight back. Looking into her sparkling eyes, I suddenly found myself reluctant to bring up that particular topic. Chloe's combat coach had privately spoken with me several times, because her rapid development made even sports bindings affect her body's agility, and her speed in offensive and defensive moves was being compromised. Chloe is the most talented child I've ever seen, with a unique physique and tremendous potential for development, she said with evident regret. It's just that her chest is too large. Not only is it inconvenient, but receiving strikes during training could also negatively impact mammary gland development. So my recommendation is that she can no longer continue learning mixed martial arts, boxing, or any other combat sports. What was originally designed to serve the male protagonist actually became an obstacle preventing Chloe from growing stronger. I never found the right opportunity to share this suggestion with Chloe, but eventually she found out anyway. Chloe locked herself in her room all night, and when she came out, she resolutely told me she wanted to undergo breast reduction surgery. Mom, you know, every time I compete, the judges pay extra attention to my chest. She buried herself in my arms just like when she was little, murmuring unhappily. After competitions, the media always uses my looks and figure for publicity. I put in so much effort, but in their eyes, none of that matters as much as a pair of breasts. Every time I wear something slightly form-fitting, they stare right at my chest. I haven't even exposed anything, yet I still feel like I'm being visually violated. I hate how they pinch my arm and ask why I still haven't built muscles after practicing for so long. Hate them asking if I like drinking milk and eating papaya. Hate how they pretend to be considerate by asking if sports binders are uncomfortable. They're just reveling in my embarrassment with deliberate stupidity. But looking like this isn't your fault. But surgery causes great harm to the body. But you shouldn't punish yourself for their mistakes. But why must we discard and conceal whatever they stare at, whatever they fancy? Isn't this just another form of surrender? My throat felt stuffed with cotton. Despite having so many reasons, I couldn't utter a single word. Chloe was only 15, still just a child. Moreover, I couldn't deny the existence of this buried thought in my heart. After the surgery, will I still not attract the male leads? The thought was morbid, but I agreed in the end. Mom will always support you. 8. The hospital rejected the surgery request. The female protagonist's body was excessively sensitive, with nerve endings several times denser than an average person's, particularly in certain intimate areas. The surgery's difficulty is too great. The slightest mistake could cause lifelong damage. Meanwhile, Chloe entered high school, and the sudden increase in academic pressure forced her to reluctantly accept this reality. She was disheartened and saddened, while I felt even more despair about it. For as long as the website remains unrecovered, I cannot leave, nor can I bear to watch Chloe slide into the abyss of fate. In the second year of high school, male lead 3 and male lead 4 appeared simultaneously. They were a pair of twin transfer students, older brother Leo and younger brother Liam. One became Chloe's academically gifted deskmate, while the other became her junior. In the story, Leo is Chloe's first love. I'm struggling with whether to break them up. Firstly, when I first read the story, I shipped their CP. Leo could be called the god of pure love, the only normal one among the 7 male leads. Secondly, Chloe can't possibly go through life without falling in love with a man. She yearns for a beautiful romance, and I shouldn't deprive her of that right. Thirdly, I'll have to leave eventually. Rather than worrying about Chloe being fooled by some future bastard male lead, it's better to entrust her to a male lead whose character is trustworthy. Entrust? I froze, then immediately felt shame wash over me. Had I actually treated Chloe as my possession, believing her safest path was to be owned by a man? I didn't trust myself, didn't trust Chloe, yet would trust a mere paper-thin character from a book. How laughable that I, who prided myself on being clear-headed, had unknowingly fallen into this world's mental trap. Perhaps this time I should truly let Chloe go, let her experience everything on her own and learn to stand up by herself. During senior year, Chloe started dating Leo. She once anxiously confessed their relationship to me, promising it wouldn't affect her studies. They even made plans to attend the same university. I'd met Leo's parents too, rarely encountered sensible people whose words and actions left no room for criticism. Perhaps I'm overthinking this, but with senior year of high school being so crucial, if Leo genuinely likes Chloe, why must they start dating right now? And then there's Liam. In the story, he's just a little creep, often impersonating his brother to go on dates with Chloe. I wrestle with the conflicting desire to intervene before Chloe gets hurt. Yet sometimes I think it's better to learn hard lessons early. Without this experience, Chloe might never learn to be wary of men. Chloe is my daughter, yet I find it impossible to truly think of myself as her mother. In my heart, she is a friend, a younger sister. I can remind her, guide her, educate her, but I lack the courage to be the villain even if it means tearing our relationship apart. On prom night, Chloe nervously asked me if she could stay out tonight instead of going home. 9. Chloe is 18, as stunning as a character stepped right out of a manga, every inch of her skin proclaiming the creator's lavish favor. Lush, silky black hair cascades down, framing radiant skin with a delicate rosy glow. Innocent yet alluring eyes shimmer beneath long lashes, while soft, rosy lips part invitingly. Her figure flows with elegant curves like a porcelain vase, full yet refined, where any more would seem clumsy and any less would appear frail. I gazed at her for a long time until she fidgeted with her skirt hem and whispered, "Mom." I felt myself turning into the most dreadful, old-fashioned mother. Chloe, you're still too young to take responsibility for your choices. When you go to college. I stopped mid-sentence. After college, there'd be senior classmates, man number 5, professor, man number 6. After entering society, there'd be CEO, man number 7. When exactly would it ever be safe enough? It never feels safe enough. Being the female lead of a dark romance novel is her original sin. From the moment I transmigrated into this world, I've been living in constant fear of it. She is the daughter I raised with painstaking effort, steering clear of every downward path. But I nurtured her precisely so she could have choices. Not like in the novel, drifting confusedly between men, pretending to choose while actually having no right to choose or refuse at all. Moreover, as long as the feelings flow naturally, this isn't really a big deal. Chloe isn't some flawless character from a novel who demands purity. She doesn't need to guard her chastity for any true male lead. I took a deep breath. You're 18 now, an adult in the eyes of the law. Since this is the choice you've made, go ahead. Before I could add any more advice, Chloe had already flushed bright red and hurriedly slung her bag over her shoulder. "Oh, Mom, I already know everything." The sound of the door closing echoed behind me. I turned my back to her, pressing the back of my hand against my burning cheeks, feeling dazed for a moment. It has already been 10 years since I came to this world. Chloe didn't return until the next afternoon. She had left with a cheerful grin, but came back dejected, looking utterly lost. My heart sank. "What's wrong?" She curled up on the sofa, her voice wavering and her gaze distant. "It's just not as wonderful as I imagined." I breathed a sigh of relief and spoke frankly. Sex is actually a very ordinary thing. The differences in our physiology mean men and women experience it quite differently. What's truly beautiful is the intimacy itself. "No." Leo said I was too clumsy and hurt him. He told me everyone else's first time went smoothly, only ours was terrible. Chloe's eyes brimmed with tears as she buried her face in her arms, curling up as if trying to squeeze herself into a rigid shell. "Woo-woo, my first time is just gone like this. Mom, I'm not happy at all now. I regret so much not listening to you." I took a deep breath, fury seething in my chest, burning from my heart up to my throat. "I'm going to beat that bastard Leo to death." 10. Chloe shut herself in her room and cried, but after taking a phone call, she quickly regained her energy and became lively again. Faced with my concern, she sheepishly admitted she'd been overthinking things but had now snapped out of it. But when I got up to drink water at night, I discovered she was secretly watching porn in her room. From the initial anger, exasperation, and helplessness, I've now reached a point where I can calmly wait until the next day to intercept her as she's getting ready to go out, saying, "Chloe, let's talk." I rarely speak to her in such a commanding tone. Perhaps that's precisely why she's become so docile in our intimate relationship. Because she trusts me and listens to me, she similarly trusts Leo, making it easier for him to manipulate her. In both this world and my own, there are some rigid-minded people who fervently worship virgin purity, to the extent that when a girl loses her virginity, her first reaction isn't joy but pressure. Under such pressure, any careless action or offhand remark from the man could become the final straw that breaks the camel's back. And girls are like ants rushing into their burrows before a storm, their sensitive antennae capable of detecting these changes even before their minds register them. That's why they would feel regretful, guilty, and even self-loathing after having sex. I just feel sorry for Chloe. Last night, you said you'd lost your virginity, but that's not true. Virginity isn't something you lose, it's something you gain. Chloe's expression became uneasy from the first words I uttered. Looking into her eyes, I spoke deliberately. This isn't any different from when you won your first championship, attended your first prom, or celebrated reaching adulthood. You gained the experience of winning, completing high school, becoming an adult, and having sex, even if it didn't satisfy you. Congratulations, Chloe. Also, I owe you an apology. Last night, I accidentally saw your phone, I said. Were you trying to learn techniques to make up for the disappointment of losing your virginity? Chloe lowered her eyes and nodded slightly. She finally sat down across from me, revealing an expression of attentive listening. As for the original intention, I actually quite support it. Practice makes perfect in anything, and mastering certain methods can yield twice the result with half the effort. But Chloe, you've misunderstood two things. First, you shouldn't use pornography as a reference. Adopting the posture of an academic discussion, Chloe's reserve and shyness gradually faded. Why? Because they are male-oriented products. What they showcase are all male-centric perspectives. Under such misplaced and erroneous viewpoints, you can only absorb wrong ideas, like no means yes, deriving pleasure from coercion, or men determining both the beginning and ending. It's difficult to pinpoint the exact influences that shape one's preferences, but I believe these texts and videos certainly play a role. Violent and explicit pop-up ads on web pages, borderline erotic magazines and literary works, niche hobbies trending online. Even today, when I read dark romance novels marketed to women, the overwhelming majority are still saturated with male-centric undertones. Yet knowing this, I still find myself addicted to the exhilaration it brings to my mind. These films won't teach you how to explore and please a woman's body, because penetrative sex exists solely for reproduction. It's a scam of patriarchal society. Only a fraction of women find it pleasurable, and fewer still reach climax. Chloe's sensitive body could perhaps truly be considered a gift bestowed by the author. Second, I gritted my teeth while poking her forehead. Discomfort is mutual, so why do you alone bear the guilt? The one who's truly rotten to the core and needs to learn is obviously him. 11. I've always said Chloe is a smart girl, except she becomes a bit slow when it comes to men. During summer vacation, Chloe still went on dates with Leo, though she never stayed out overnight again. At night, she would come to my room to analyze the day's date with me. He rushed to pay at the restaurant, but demanded we split the bill afterwards. It made me so uncomfortable. He always loves to make nitpicky comments about my outfits, claiming it's for my own good. When his male friend fought with his girlfriend, clearly the guy's fault, he still insisted it was the girl's fault for hurting his pride. Gradually, her comments about Leo grew fewer, as did her outings. Then suddenly one day, Chloe announced they'd broken up. I immediately bought champagne to celebrate. Chloe was like a phoenix reborn from ashes, transformed beyond recognition. Her change was so profound I could hardly believe it. My worries were unnecessary. She seemed to have completely shaken off the shadows of that failed romance. If anything, I was the one still concerned she might be secretly grieving, and I observed her state a few times on the sly. Later, I accidentally overheard a conversation between Liam and her. The boy with an innocent face held up a photograph, cornering Chloe against the wall as he whispered, "You wouldn't want my brother to see these photos, would you, sis?" Chloe kicked him to the ground, planted her foot on his stomach, bent down to snatch the photo, and examined it carefully. The dim lighting cast shadows as Liam smirked arrogantly, his face full of insolence. Yet Chloe remained expressionless, as if she had merely spotted an ant. She flung the photo disdainfully onto Liam's face. "That's it?" Liam froze, his limbs thrashing wildly on the ground. "Are you carrying my brother's child? Otherwise, how could you have milk? You got pregnant before marriage, yet you dare to question me?" Note: the translation maintains the original paragraph structure, emotional intensity, and colloquial tone of the Mandarin dialogue while adapting culturally specific concepts like premarital pregnancy naturally into English. "How can you prove the person in the photo is me?" Chloe said coldly. "This is defamation. You could go to jail for this." Liam's eyes were bulging with fury. "It's true. I was the one who took the photo. Hello, 911? Someone took unauthorized photos of me and is threatening to spread them," Chloe said into the phone, her voice sweet and composed. "Yes, his name is Liam. He admitted it himself." This time, Liam was handcuffed and taken to the police station. Male lead number 4 being detained seemed like a positive sign, indicating Chloe was beginning to break free from the world's constraints. Inside the police station, Leo pleaded with Chloe in a meek tone to settle the matter privately. After being repeatedly refused, his expression finally darkened, and he publicly rebuked her. "Chloe Miller, what's with your holier-than-thou attitude? You've already been with me. Aren't you just Chloe, I'm not in good shape today. Maybe I'm just too tired. Normally I'm not like this, really. You have to believe me. Just kiss me. Maybe I'll feel better then." Chloe held up her phone, and Leo's voice played clearly from the recording. Leo's face turned from pale to white, and finally flushed scarlet. I tightly covered my mouth to stifle a burst of laughter. Chloe delivered a crushing blow with complete nonchalance. "You're pitiful." Male lead number 3 and number 4, eliminated. 12 Chloe informed me about the abnormality in my body. "Ever since that incident, it's been like this," she said as she took off her clothes. "But other than the milk leakage staining my clothes, there's really nothing inconvenient about it." I watched her carefree demeanor and suddenly felt a deep ache in my heart. There was a time when Chloe used to be terrified by the body odor emanating from her first period. Now, she had reached a point where she could calmly and objectively accept her own body. But it might invite harsh criticism, I struggled to say. "Only breastfeeding women experience this. Your reputation could suffer." "What does it matter?" Chloe actually comforted me instead. The corners of her lips curled up as playful arcs appeared at the edges of her eyes. She winked at me. "Men are all just clueless idiots who don't even understand periods anyway." After the university admission results came out, she chose to study medicine. This choice runs completely counter to the plot in the text. "Mom must have noticed my body is quite unusual long ago, right? I think, since even major hospitals can't figure out the reason, I might as well research it myself. Besides, with more nerve endings than ordinary people, I might actually contribute more to clinical medicine. That'd count as a real achievement, wouldn't it?" Before leaving, Chloe hugged my waist playfully and coquettishly. Her suitcase was packed not only with pretty little dresses but also a pair of boxing gloves. My eyes welled up with warmth, moved to the point of tears. "Are you really sure you don't want Mom to come with you?" "No need, really. Besides being a mother, Mommy is also her own person." Chloe smacked a big kiss on my cheek, then grinned as she grabbed her suitcase. "Go enjoy life to the fullest, Miss Miller." Amid the bustling crowd, only she stood out in a crimson pomegranate red dress, the hem billowing like waves kicked up by her calves, a full sail carrying her afar. She was so eager, rushing toward the bright platform. I suddenly had a premonition. The time for farewell had come. 13, and this premonition persisted for 8 long years. Freshman year, Chloe met her senior Noah, and the two began dating. Later, they broke up due to disagreements over whose surname the child would take. When she came back during summer vacation, she told me the story as a joke. I asked if his family had a noble title to inherit, and he actually took me through their family records. In the end, we discovered their ancestors were grave robbers, became slaves during a government crackdown, and were eventually granted a surname for protecting their master. Turns out, his whole family wasn't even originally named Smith. Ha 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 ha. In her junior year, Chloe was admitted to the lab early for her outstanding grades and began research under her advisor, with Professor Albright as the collaborating supervisor. I subtly asked her what she thought of Professor Albright. After all, the 6th male lead in the story is a complete elite scoundrel who nearly drove the female lead to a mental breakdown. Chloe pondered seriously before giving an 8-word evaluation. Exceptionally capable, but morally deficient. She seemed to guess what I was about to ask and cut in first. "Mom, don't worry. I'd never fall for this type of man." "But what if he likes you and actively pursues you?" "Chloe, this just proves he's utterly devoid of professional ethics, a complete scumbag. A man 10 years older than me, using his position and authority to pursue his own student." She looked disgusted. "That's practically workplace sexual harassment." I was completely relieved. During senior year, our research team finally achieved results. At the celebration banquet, Professor Albright had had a bit to drink and proactively confessed to Chloe. "I once had feelings for you, though your intellect attracted me more than the thought of possessing your body. Chloe, you're the smartest girl I've ever met. I think I'll remember you for the rest of my life." He was impeccably dressed, with steady eyes and brows, exuding an air of mature charm. In response, Chloe splashed a glass of wine in his face. "Even if you were 10 years younger when confessing to me, I wouldn't have accepted you. Why put on that act of reluctantly letting me go as if you've missed your chance? Don't drag me into your melodrama without permission. I saw you as a partner, as a mentor, but you treated me like some fantasy object of yours. What the hell are you even barking about? She flipped Professor Albright the middle finger. Don't bring emotions into work. If you're this unstable, I'm seriously concerned about receiving fair treatment in the future. Our collaboration ends here. Soon after, she quickly jumped ship to another company that had been courting her all along. Hearing her recount, rather than worrying about the female lead, now I'm more concerned about the male lead's mental state. 14. Chloe barely had time to catch her breath in her first year after graduation, getting by on just 4 hours of sleep each night, which still wasn't enough. The amusing part was that no matter how late she stayed up, she always woke up radiant the next day, so much so that colleagues kept buying out her personal cosmetics until they sold out. Once when she went to negotiate a deal, the investor was Mr. Sterling, a hedonistic CEO drowning in luxury and debauchery. Amid a row of exhausted researchers, only Chloe stood out with her rosy, peach blossom complexion. The man narrowed his eyes and beckoned with a finger. Drink until I'm satisfied, and I'll sign this contract. At the dining table, everyone shared an unspoken understanding, and even the alcohol served wasn't particularly strong liquor. As long as Chloe drank enough to show mild intoxication and displayed the tipsy demeanor they wanted to see, this act would be considered successful. However, Chloe's role as the female lead encountered a glitch in the system. As everyone knows, the female leads in dark romance novels always get drunk at the sight of alcohol, yet never too drunk, still capable of playing those little "who are you? Who am I?" games with various male leads. So that night, Chloe kept drinking glass after glass, the flush on her face growing deeper and more vivid, yet she never completely succumbed to drunkenness. The expressions of the men at the table shifted from teasing to astonishment, and finally, disbelief. In the end, Mr. Sterling waved his hand and signed the hefty contract, eyeing Chloe with keen interest as he remarked, "Fascinating. There's plenty more that's fascinating. Would you be interested?" Chloe reserved a private booth at the bar, where the two of them sat in silence until dawn. At the break of dawn, she revived like a respawned game character, instantly restored to her usual self without a trace of fatigue. Mr. Sterling's drowsy eyes snapped awake in an instant, locking onto her intently. Thus began their official partnership, though it never blossomed into a romantic relationship. He said he doesn't want a girlfriend who can be refreshed with a single click, as it would shake his materialist worldview. Chloe shrugged nonchalantly. Just as well, I've no interest in useless pretty boys either. To me, his gender is walking checkbook. My palms grew sweaty as I listened, terrified she might ask me the next second, "Mom, what exactly am I?" Fortunately, Chloe simply smiled and glanced at me. "Mom, what have you been working on lately?" "I'm writing a novel. The protagonist travels to another world where there's no distinction between men and women, only one gender. Zay." She looked over with interest, and after a moment's thought, I continued. "They possess no reproductive organs, emerging endlessly from a shared machine, a contraption with 12 pairs of breasts, a belly swollen like a flour sack, eyeless, mouthless, earless. They call it the sacred cow." After the protagonist crossed over, they discovered a unique presence among them, a being in the form of a human woman, held aloft by the others and gently placed upon the throne. Her full bosom was regarded as a symbol of wisdom, her soothing voice melodious as heavenly music. She needed only to sit upon the throne, lightly pressing her fingertip to their brows to bestow blessings. "This is so strange," the protagonist said. "Isn't she just an ordinary woman?" So the protagonist approached the throne and said to that Zay, "You shouldn't be here." Zay glared unhappily at the protagonist when she noticed they shared the same chest shape, and then ordered the protagonist to be driven away. But the Zez took the protagonist to an iron house filled with countless cows and innumerable Zez in the form of human women. "Ah, what kind of dark fairy tale is this?" Chloe couldn't help interrupting me. "The ending must be all the women uniting to overthrow the Zez and establish a new homeland, right?" "Well, I haven't decided yet," I frankly told her. "After all, there are just too many Zez to consider. But it'll definitely be a happy ending. Deep down, you actually want this too." In the 4th year after graduation, Mr. Sterling's research institute successfully extracted an unprecedented active cell from Chloe's body. Experiments proved this cell possessed functions of accelerating metabolism and tissue repair. The only pity was that these cells would die shortly after being removed from Chloe. They were currently searching for a method to make the cells survive long term. She brought back the recording from the International Academic Symposium, where Chloe spoke as a representative researcher. "For over a decade, I was tormented by my own body. It wasn't until I turned 26 that I truly came to know and understand it. And beyond myself, there are countless other women in this world too ashamed to explore their own bodies. Our research institute has recruited many volunteers, some with extra pairs of accessory nipples, some with uterine prolapse, others with ceaseless menstrual cycles spanning years, yet before this, no one ever paid attention to their anomalies. I hope that in the future, more and more people will come to learn about, spread, and promote knowledge about women, from elderly women knowing how to clean their bodies to little girls with braids understanding the proper order for wiping after using the toilet. I hope sanitary pads can sit beside condoms at the checkout counter. I hope adolescent girls no longer hunch their shoulders because they developed too early. I hope the surrogacy ads in public restrooms vanish entirely. I hope every flower knows how she should bloom, flourish, and then fade. Or perhaps she doesn't have to be a flower at all. She could be a great tree, a soaring bird, a fierce tiger, a human being. I want every woman to become just that, a human. Chloe turned off the recording and hugged me with a smile. Mom, have you thought of an ending for that story yet? I wiped away my tears, my lips trembling as I said, the protagonist led the cows and Zez out of the prison. They climbed over walls, boulders, and cliffs, crossing mountain after mountain until they discovered a human settlement. The woman at the forefront told them, "Your name is woman." The women built homes there and lived, while the protagonist chose to return. Chloe asked in astonishment, "Return for what?" "To rescue the Ze on the throne," I said. When the protagonist returned, they found that Ze had been cast down from the throne. The Zez brandished daggers, chanting, "We'll cut off your ears so you can't discern lies. We'll gouge out your eyes so you can't see the truth. We'll sew your lips shut so you can't speak. We'll lock a collar around your neck, give you a child, and you'll be our new cow." The protagonist rescued her and brought her back to the settlement. She was shocked and frantic upon seeing so many women. The protagonist told her, "This is how it should be. Your breasts are no symbol of wisdom, nor your voice a heavenly choir. You're just an ordinary human woman." Tears welled up in Chloe's eyes. Is simply being an ordinary woman enough? Of course. Unconsciously, my body began to fade like being erased by a rubber. The website restored itself, and it was finally time to leave. When the protagonist went back to save her, he hoped she could become an ordinary human woman. Or maybe we could make her a bit more special, Chloe said with tear-streaked cheeks, forcing a faint smile, like learning some special skills, MMA or something. Well, besides MMA, boxing, combat, debate, logic. I told her with a laugh, one can never have too many skills. Might as well learn whatever she can. She couldn't hold back any longer and threw herself forward, sobbing, "Mommy." Then she landed on empty air. I couldn't hold back my tears either. "You've been calling me mommy for most of my life, but now that you're all grown up, I'm actually 2 years younger than you." Chloe wouldn't listen at all. Like when she was little and being bullied by naughty boys, she wailed at the top of her lungs with her mouth wide open, "Mommy, mommy." I was completely defeated by her. When I first traveled through time, I didn't have much affection for Chloe. I even watched with amusement, thinking, wow, as expected of the female lead, she was this adorable as a child too. But when she cried like a sticky rice ball rolling into my arms, sobbing about a boy kissing her, I suddenly grew furious. This fury sustained me, fueling an almost foolish determination to raise Chloe for nearly 20 years. Chloe hasn't cried in so long. I couldn't help but reply, "Hey," the end.